The clock on the fisherman's small boat showed it was past midnight, but in Iceland during summer, the sun doesn't truly set. Instead, it dips just below the horizon, painting the world in a strange and beautiful twilight. The sea was calm, like a sheet of dark glass, and the air was still and cold. This fisherman named Bjorn was used to the quiet of these nights. He had spent years on these waters, knowing their moods and secrets. But tonight, something was different. A deep, ethereal blue light filled the sky and reflected on the water, creating a scene that felt like it was from another world. It was a magical, surreal glow that made everything feel brand new, even to a man who had seen it all. Suddenly, the silent surface of the water broke. A sleek black fin sliced through the waves, impossibly tall and sharp against the twilight. Bjorn's heart leaped. He wasn't scared, not really, but a jolt of pure adrenaline shot through him. Another fin appeared, then another. They were orcas, a whole pod. They moved with a power and grace that was breathtaking to witness. Bjorn grabbed his phone, his hands trembling slightly, not from fear, but from the sheer awe of the moment. He knew this was something special, a gift from the ocean that few people ever get to see. He had to capture it, not for fame, but to remember the feeling of being so close to such magnificent wildness. The orcas began to circle his boat. They were not aggressive or threatening. Instead, they seemed curious, their movements slow and deliberate. One of them, a large male with a towering dorsal fin, swam right up to the side of the boat. It turned its massive head and looked directly at him. In that moment, Bjorn felt a connection that went beyond words. He could see the intelligence in its eye, a deep and ancient wisdom that you only find in the wild. He felt incredibly small, a humble visitor in their vast blue kingdom. This wasn't his ocean, it was theirs. He was just lucky enough to be invited in for a moment, the air filled with strange and wonderful sounds. Bjorn could hear the powerful rush of water as the orcas surfaced to breathe. He heard their loud pff sound as they exhaled, sending misty spray into the cold air. Below the surface, he could almost feel the clicks and whistles they used to talk to each other. It was a symphony of the deep, a language he couldn't understand, but felt in his soul. The combination of the unearthly blue light, the gentle giants swimming around him, and their mysterious calls created an experience that was overwhelming. It was a memory that he knew would be etched into his mind forever, a story he would tell for the rest of his life. The orcas continued their slow, hypnotic dance around Bjorn's little fishing vessel. There were at least 5 of them, including a smaller calf that stayed close to its mother's side. The calf was playful, sometimes breaching the surface with a splash that echoed in the profound silence of the Icelandic night. Watching them move was like watching a perfectly choreographed ballet. They swam in unison, their powerful bodies gliding effortlessly through the icy water. Bjorn felt a mix of excitement and a deep sense of peace. The initial nervousness had faded away, replaced by pure wonder. He was a spectator at the most exclusive show on Earth, and he felt incredibly privileged. These creatures are often called killer whales, but seeing them like this, gentle and inquisitive, Bjorn knew that name didn't tell the whole story. They are apex predators, yes, but they are also highly intelligent and social animals with complex family bonds. The pod circled his boat as if they were inspecting it, trying to understand this strange object in their territory. At one point, an orca swam directly under his boat. He could see its massive white and black shape pass beneath him like a living shadow. The feeling of having such a powerful animal so close, yet feeling completely safe, was an incredible paradox. He knew they could flip his boat with ease, but their behavior showed no threat, only curiosity. Bjorn realized he was holding his breath. He let it out slowly, trying to remain as still and quiet as possible. He didn't want to break the spell. The orcas seemed to be responding to the stillness. They were not afraid. This was their world, and he was the guest. Their movements were a beautiful display of trust and curiosity. One of the females rolled onto her side, revealing her white underbelly, and looked up at him with what seemed like a knowing gaze. It was a moment of pure connection, a silent communication between two very different beings sharing the same planet. He felt a profound respect for their power and their gentle nature. The awe of the moment was almost overwhelming. It was a primal experience, connecting him to the natural world in a way he had never felt before. The world of deadlines, bills, and everyday worries simply melted away. Out here, under the midnight sun, surrounded by these magnificent animals, all that mattered was the present moment. It was a powerful reminder of how big the world is and how much of it remains wild and untamed. This was not an encounter to be conquered or captured for glory. It was a moment to be cherished, to be humbled by. It was a lesson in respect from the masters of the ocean themselves. As Bjorn watched, he started to wonder why the Orcas had approached him, why his boat on this particular night. He knew from his years as a fisherman that orcas are incredibly curious animals. They are intelligent enough to investigate new and interesting things in their environment. A small, quiet boat bobbing on the surface is like a strange new puzzle for them to solve. They might swim by to get a closer look, using their keen eyesight to see what it is and who is on it. Their curiosity is a sign of their high intelligence, a desire to understand the world around them, much like our own. Sound also plays a massive role in the ocean. The gentle hum of his boat's engine, even when idle, travels far underwater. Orcas have exceptional hearing and can pick up on these sounds from miles away. They use their own complex clicks and whistles to see with sound, a process called echolocation. The sound of a boat engine could be something that draws them in, not as a threat, but as an object of interest. They might come closer simply to identify the source of the noise. It is their way of mapping their world and keeping track of everything within it, from prey to strange floating objects like Bjorn's vessel. Another powerful lure is the smell of fish. Bjorn was a fisherman, and his boat, even after being cleaned, carried the scent of his recent catches. Orcas have a good sense of smell, and the promise of an easy meal is a strong motivator for any predator. While they were not hunting him or his boat, the scent of fish in the water might have been the initial attractant that brought them into the area. It could have been what first piqued their interest, leading them to investigate the boat and the lone human on board. They were simply following their instincts, which led them to this unforgettable encounter. So it was likely a combination of all these things: curiosity about a strange object, the sound of the engine, and the faint smell of fish on the breeze. It wasn't a random act, it was the result of intelligent animals exploring their environment. Understanding this made the encounter even more meaningful for Bjorn. It wasn't just luck, it was an intersection of his world and theirs, driven by the natural instincts and intelligence of the orcas. He felt less like a random observer and more like a participant in a brief, silent conversation with the giants of the deep. Bjorn knew how important it was to film this moment responsibly. He followed simple but crucial rules. First, he kept his boat still, cutting the engine to minimize noise and disturbance. Any sudden movements or loud sounds could have scared the orcas away, or worse, made them feel threatened. Respecting their space is the most important thing. He used a wide camera view on his phone, capturing the entire scene rather than trying to zoom in too closely on one animal. This gives a better sense of their environment and their natural behavior, and it avoids the need to get dangerously close. His goal was to be a silent witness, not an intruder. He also knew what not to do. He never made any sudden movements on the boat or shouted with excitement. He kept his voice low and his body still. Using a drone would have been a bad idea. The noise and presence of a drone flying low over the water can be very stressful for marine mammals. And of course, he never tried to feed them or touch them. These are wild animals, and interfering with their natural behavior is harmful and disrespectful. The best wildlife encounters happen when the animals are in control and we are simply quiet, respectful guests in their home. A short, gentle video is far more powerful than a long, disruptive one. By sharing his calm video, Bjorn did more than just show off a cool experience. He gave people a window into the real world of these animals. Gentle, respectful videos like his help to counter the fearsome killer whale myth. They show orcas as they truly are. Intelligent, curious, and social creatures deserving of our protection. When people see these animals acting naturally and peacefully, it builds a connection. It makes them care. It inspires them to learn more about ocean conservation and the threats that whales face, from pollution to habitat loss. These small moments of shared wonder can have a big impact. In the end, the story isn't really about the fishermen. It's about the orcas. Bjorn was just the lens through which we get to see them. His encounter reminds us that the world is full of magic if we just take the time to look. It teaches us that the greatest moments in nature are not about conquering or dominating it, but about quietly observing and respecting it. By sharing these gentle encounters, we encourage a culture of respect for wildlife. We learn that the best way to love the natural world is to leave it just as we found it, wild, free, and wonderful.